Students often believe that the goal of learning and research should be to prove that something is true or false. When studying society, culture, communication, and gender, however, there's not a single truth. We can't, unfortunately, prove anything. Culture and communication are dynamic, shifting, constantly changing. Instead of trying to find permanent truths, communication researchers develop and test theories that help us explain our world. They help us tell a story that makes sense of complex things. Here's a brief story of communication that will help you make sense of this class. In the early days of communication theory, the prevalent concept was that there were three major components of communication: the sender, the receiver, and the message. The sender lobbed the message to the receiver, and through a series of back-and-forth volleys, much like a ping-pong match, the participants exchanged messages, each taking a turn at sending and receiving. It's a good story. But more recently, the prevalent theory of communication suggests that we don't take turns sending and receiving. We are, in fact, constantly, continuously, and simultaneously sending and receiving. This new theory is called the transactional model of communication. In this model, the ability to make sense of one another's message is dependent on our shared field of experience. In the lesson in week 1, we'll watch a TED Talk by neuroscientist Yuri Hassan. In that talk, listen carefully for what this scientist who studies the brain has to say about common ground. In the transactional model, communication can be disrupted or interrupted by noise. Noise can be external, like a plane flying overhead or the trash truck at the curb. But it can also be internal, such as feelings of anxiety, distrust, and even hunger. There are other theories that are important to the study of gender and communication, and we'll learn more about them in this unit as well. In fact, the story of communication draws from theories and practices from a host of academic disciplines. Let's take a quick look at the ones that most influence our course. First, there's the study of communication through the lens of rhetoric. Though every culture across the globe has a rich rhetorical history, in U.S. colleges, we study a tradition of rhetoric that began with Greek and Roman teachers, such as Aristotle and Plato. This tradition, which focused on the art of oration and argument, is the foundation for one of the most popular communication courses taught in the U.S., public speaking. Though we'll study many facets of public speaking, one overarching concept is the role the speaker has when speaking to an audience, the relationship of the one to the many. The rhetorical tradition is not the only theory that influences communication studies. We are also influenced by the study of language, most particularly the theories and methods used in linguistics, anthropology, psychology, and sociology. In these fields, human interaction, including the development of language and nonverbal communication, is studied by observing people in their day-to-day interactions. In order to objectively study others, researchers in these areas must become critically aware of their own cultural biases, which requires dedication to being self-aware. A subset of these researchers focus on examining broad systems within culture, including government, schools, churches, and workplaces. These organizations have tremendous power to shape culture, impact laws and norms, and reinforce belief systems. Since they are products of our culture, a close look at these structures often reveals hidden beliefs and stereotypes. The final area we will draw from brings us full circle back to the notion of a speaker, or in the case of the media, a small set of speakers communicating a message to an audience. Mediated communication allows the speaker to reach an unlimited audience, and that is a lot of power. So how do these communication threads drawn from disciplines across the college affect what we teach here at MSJC? From the rhetoricians, we inherit the tradition of public speaking. From the anthropologists, linguists, and sociologists, the tradition of interpersonal and intercultural communication. And from the organizational people, we have small group communication. And finally, from the mass media group, we have journalism and media studies. It's a broad range. In this class, we'll use these three major threads to structure our units. In Unit 1, we'll use the tenets of rhetoric to explore early, modern, and postmodern gender movements, looking at the way these movements sought to impact U.S. beliefs and practices by challenging stereotypes. In Unit 2, we'll take on the theories of linguists, psychologists, anthropologists, and social scientists to explore the role of families, schools, and other institutions in our development of gender, taking a close, critical look at our own gender socialization. In Unit 3, we'll become media analysts, looking closely at the gendered messages in media and advertising. Finally, because our survey is broad but not deep, you'll have an opportunity to deepen your research in an area of your choice, working closely with a group of your peers to design a final unit for our class that explores gender and communication. We're going to have a lot of fun exploring the story of communication and writing our own story of gender and communication. Let's start by developing a shared vocabulary.